the smile that hid a nightmare. There are crimes that shock communities. And then there are crimes that shatter the illusion of safety inside a home. For more real stories that uncover the truth behind the headlines, make sure you like, follow, and subscribe. In August 2018, in the quiet suburban neighborhood of Frederick, Colorado, a story unfolded that would leave the world asking one haunting question. How could a man who looked like the perfect husband commit such an unimaginable act? Tonight, we take a calm, investigative look into the tragic case of the Watts family murders. The murders of Shannon Watts, her daughters Bella Watts and Celeste Watts, and the man responsible, Chris Watts. This is not a story of a monster hiding in the shadows. This is the story of a man hiding in plain sight. The image of a perfect life. Frederick, Colorado, about 30 miles north of Denver. A peaceful suburban town. Tree-lined streets. Two-story homes. Children riding bicycles in the summer heat. Chris Watts worked as an operator for Anadarko Petroleum. Quiet. Soft-spoken. Reserved. Shannon Watts was the opposite. Outgoing. Energetic. Active on social media. She shared her life openly on Facebook, from her health journey to her marriage to Chris, to the daily routines of their two daughters. To outsiders, they appeared happy. Shannon frequently posted affectionate messages about her husband. Videos of Chris playing with Bella and Celeste showed a seemingly attentive father. Smiles. Laughter. Birthday parties. Gender reveal announcements. In 2018, Shannon was pregnant with their third child, a boy they planned to name Nico. But behind the camera lens, things were changing. Cracks beneath the surface. By the summer of 2018, the Watts marriage was struggling. Financial pressure weighed heavily on them. They had previously filed for bankruptcy in 2015. Their large home carried a significant mortgage. Credit card debts mounted. Shannon traveled to North Carolina for 6 weeks with the girls during the summer. Chris stayed in Colorado for work. Distance changed something. During that time, Chris began an affair with a co-worker, Nicole Kessinger. Their relationship escalated quickly. Text messages later revealed that Chris told Nicole he was separated and close to finalizing a divorce. He painted a picture of a man ready for a new life. But in reality, Shannon was still very much in the picture. When Shannon returned to Colorado on August 13, 2018, after a business trip to Arizona, she had no idea that within hours, her life would end. August 13, 2018, at 1:48 a.m., Shannon arrived home from the airport. A neighbor's security camera captured her entering the house. She was 15 weeks pregnant. That was the last time she was seen alive. Later that morning, Chris went to work as usual. He loaded tools into his truck in the early hours before sunrise. But something was wrong. Shannon missed a doctor's appointment that day. She wasn't answering her phone. Her friend became concerned and contacted police for a welfare check. When officers arrived at the Watts home, Chris appeared calm, cooperative. He said Shannon had taken the girls on a play date after an emotional conversation about separation. But the story didn't add up. Her purse was still inside. Her phone was found in the house. Her car remained in the garage. Her medications were untouched. The alarm bells were ringing. The neighbor's camera. Police reviewed footage from a neighbor's security camera owned by Nate Trinastick. The footage showed Chris backing his work truck into the driveway in the early morning hours. He was seen walking back and forth between the house and the truck for several minutes. What stood out wasn't just the footage. It was Chris's body language while watching it. He stood stiff, hands on his head, rocking slightly. Even the neighbor later said something felt off. Investigators noted the tension immediately, and slowly, the image of the worried husband began to crack. On August 15th, Chris agreed to take a polygraph test. He failed. When confronted, he didn't immediately confess to the full truth. Instead, he offered a partial admission. He claimed that Shannon had strangled the girls in a fit of rage after he told her he wanted a separation. He claimed he then strangled Shannon in retaliation. But investigators weren't convinced. There was no evidence Shannon harmed her children. The injuries didn't support his version. Eventually, Chris confessed. But what he confessed to was far darker. What really happened? According to his final confession, in the early hours of August 13th, Chris and Shannon had an emotional argument. She confronted him about the affair. She pleaded for the marriage. He strangled her in their bedroom. She was 15 weeks pregnant. After killing Shannon, Chris placed her body in his truck. Bella and Celeste were still alive. He drove all three to a remote oil site owned by Anadarko Petroleum, where he worked. There, he smothered his daughters. Bella, only 4 years old, reportedly asked him, "Daddy, no?" He then placed their small bodies inside oil storage tanks. Shannon was buried in a shallow grave nearby. The brutality of the disposal shocked even seasoned investigators. Why? There was no long history of violence. No criminal record. No outward signs of aggression. The motive appeared chillingly simple. He wanted a new life. Text messages revealed he had been searching online for romantic getaways with Nicole. He had looked up wedding dresses. He had searched for the cost of divorce. Financial freedom. Romantic freedom. A fresh start. Instead of facing the consequences of divorce, he chose annihilation. This type of crime is known as family annihilation. It is rare, but when it occurs, it devastates communities. On August 15, 2018, Chris Watts was arrested. In November 2018, he pleaded guilty to 9 criminal counts, including 5 counts of first-degree murder, 1 count of unlawful termination of a pregnancy, 3 counts of tampering with a deceased body. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. No trial. No prolonged courtroom battle. Just a quiet plea and life behind bars. He is currently serving his sentence in Wisconsin. Experts later examined Chris's personality. He was described as passive, conflict avoidant, emotionally withdrawn. Some criminologists believe he fit the profile of a covert narcissist, someone who avoids confrontation but harbors resentment internally. Others believe he simply lacked emotional depth. The most unsettling part? There were no visible warning signs of impending violence. Neighbors described him as normal. Friends described him as quiet. Shannon described him as loving. And that is what makes this case so haunting. Because evil did not roar. It whispered. Shannon's Facebook videos still exist online. Birthday celebrations. Pregnancy announcements. Holiday gatherings. In one video, Chris smiles while Shannon announces her pregnancy. But in hindsight, some viewers say his smile seemed forced. Was it resentment? Was it emotional detachment? Or are we projecting what we know now? Social media often shows curated happiness. The Watts family presented a polished image. But real life was complicated, strained, and quietly unraveling. The aftermath. The community of Frederick mourned deeply. Vigils were held. Flowers lined the street. Strangers wept for children they never knew. Shannon's family publicly expressed devastation, but also forgiveness. They asked for no death penalty. They wanted closure. The house eventually sold. But for many, it remains a symbol of a shattered illusion. The Watts family murders remain one of the most disturbing modern true crime cases. Because it forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. Can we truly know the people closest to us? How much of what we see online is real? How many conflicts go unspoken behind closed doors? Chris Watts did not fit the stereotype of a violent criminal. And that's exactly why this case shook the world. The danger wasn't in an alleyway. It was inside a home. Closing reflection. 3 lives were taken. A mother. 2 little girls. And an unborn child. No motive can justify it. No explanation can undo it. The Watts family murders remind us that sometimes the most chilling crimes are not committed in darkness, but in daylight, by someone trusted. If you found this investigative breakdown compelling, consider subscribing for more in-depth true crime stories. Because behind